Anyway, welcome everyone. We really appreciate you joining today's webinar on IoT solution management and what you need to do to ensure success after your connected product is launched. So I thought we'd start with defining IoT solution management. So IoT solution management, or ISM, encompasses the ongoing, sustaining, proactive, and value motions required to maintain and enhance the value of a connected product over its lifetime. Wow. There are some key words in here. You could really just boil it down. You need to maintain and enhance your product over its expected lifetime. But we wanted to really kind of shape this up a little bit more. So let's first double click on sustaining. Sustaining, you're going to find that when you have this connected product in production, you're going to have to respond to inevitable events or things that are just out of your control, but they're going to happen. We'll give some examples of that. Proactive, this is really knowledge via automation. That seems really probably a little bit abstract, but I'll color that in here in a moment. Or simply what you would think, preparing in advance. And then finally, value. This is the intentional increase of value through adding features, or it could be you're looking for efficiencies, you're trying to drive out cost, et cetera. So these three words are really important when we think about the motions that are involved. And we also were intentional about the word motions. We're including, but not limited to, technology concerns. So today we'll mostly be in the technology domain, but I'm really interested, Jason, to unpack with you. I think there's also some just business processes, et cetera, that definitely are impacted as a connected product scales, as it makes its way through production. All right. So you know what? It doesn't rain every day, but we all at least own one umbrella, right? I've got mine with me here. So the idea here is, our metaphor for IoT solution management is that it's going to protect those components of your solution from the elements that are going to come against it to degrade that value over time. So what are those components? The ones we'll really kind of talk about today are hardware, firmware, cloud, and applications. So if you think about that, I really just want to highlight maybe three key things that can really be a challenge as your product makes its way through its production lifecycle. The first one's just scale. What's unique about scale? It's not just about a large number out in the future. You really have this idea that as your devices scale, you need to think about everything that it takes to make a device real. Manufacturing, end-of-line testing, provisioning, commissioning, OTA. We've seen all those things at different times need to be addressed as devices scale. So, unlike our trusty iPhones, this is just a little bit of a different animal when you think about device scale. The second element is simply time. Again, going back to the iPhone analogy, I was reading a stat. We really roll these over every 2 or 3 years, but an IoT connected product really should kind of match the lifetime of what it's connecting. Let's take a few examples. Let's take them from the home. Connected doorbell, connected thermostat, connected breaker. I don't know about you, but I'm not in the habit of changing my breakers every few years. I expect if I have a connected breaker, that thing's going to last quite a long time. And it's not uncommon that we'll hear kind of this lifespan or expected life cycle of a connected product. 15 years, I think, is what we commonly hear. So you just have to think about, what does that mean to your product as you make your way through this journey? And lastly, just change. And that's kind of a function of time. Invariably, you are going to come up against change. And we'll talk about some examples of that. So it's just, I think the thing we want to leave you with here is IoT solution management is about the sustainment and enhancing of the value of the product through your production lifecycle. It's all the components of your solution. And while scale, time, and change, they kind of impact different solutions in different ways, we would definitely encourage you to keep these in the front of your mind as you think about this journey through this life cycle, especially the production life cycle. Okay, so I'm gonna take a little bit a different view here. We're gonna uncover some use cases, if you will, for IoT solution management. But before we do that, Mesh Systems is constantly thinking about the journey of how do you ideate to getting a connected product to production. And I'm going to be Captain Obvious for a moment. These phases are interdependent, right? They're connected. And I think what we want to highlight here is in our March webinar, biz case for connected products, we really stressed you want to focus on discovering what are the validated outcomes that you want your connected product to deliver and the value that you want it to deliver. And, as much as we want to get started and help, I think, as hard as this is to say, we really see that if this step is skipped, you're going to be, you're really going to be remiss that you didn't think deeply about that. So this testing and prototype phase is really important to us. And I encourage everyone, if you didn't catch that March webinar, you can go look that up. There's great content where we just focused really on this testable prototype. So really do spend some quality time there. Next, you're going to have those outcomes identified and you're going to start to head towards commercial scale. There's certainly going to be refinement as you add devices, start to get deployments in the field, and that's all important to this journey. And again, what you're learning along the way, we can definitely tell you that ISM and what you have to do in production, you can do things in these early cycles that are going to dramatically make that easier. And that's probably a webinar in and of itself. But for today, I really want to focus on this point of launch and then going through the production life cycle. So if you think about this, what we're gonna do is say, you've done a great job. You've got your product in the market. Now what? What are some of the things that you can expect to have to do? So first is just this kind of continual proactive fleet ISM. This IoT Solution Management 101. And if you recall, I said, hey, part of that proactive phase is this knowledge through automation. These are things like, is my cloud infrastructure running in a healthy manner? Are my devices behaving as I expect? Are they connected? Are they, using the right amount of backhaul? You really need to stay on top of this. And what I think we would tell you is this needs to be automated. This is not people powered. This is appropriating technology to proactively have insight to how your fleet's running. And that's just kind of table stakes. That's there throughout the life cycle of your connected product. Now let's go through some examples of some use cases that you can expect in the ISM space. So you've launched your product, maybe some early feedback comes in and you need to add a feature to the product. We see this commonly. And in fact, I can't think of a product that connected product that we help maintain and manage that this hasn't happened. So you're definitely going to have that opportunity to do this value ISM and add additional value through feature enhancement to your product. That could be a mobile app, could be a web app, could be firmware, whatever it is, you can bet that that's going to happen at some point along the life cycle. Next opportunity, as an example, you're doing great. Maybe you're going into year 5 and you're projecting that your device count is going to double and your user count's going to be proportional. Well, one of the things we would say is be proactive, have an IoT solution management motion that assures your cloud is ready for that scale. You can hope and you can find out the hard way, or you can be proactive and there's a lot of opportunity here. We have some tooling to help with scale assurity, both on just the ingestion and kind of the application side. So really important example here where you can be proactive as your solution scales. Third use case, it's a fact of life. It's a rigid rod of reality, defect repair and technology deprecation. We've seen a lot of this, in fact, on the technology deprecation side as hyperscalers are really learning what services they need to put in front of us as practitioners. We just have to be ready for that announcement of X or Y services going away. Or, again, your users report a defect, you decide that it's significant enough, impactful enough that needs to be repaired. This is going to happen as you have that product in production. So this would be an example of sustaining ISM. You really have no choice. That service is going to be deprecated. That critical bug is going to be found. If you're going to maintain the value proposition of your connected product, you're going to have to take care of this. And finally, our last example is kind of this hardware component end of life. You can be doing all the right steps here. Let's say you're in year 7 and every year you've been seeing if your product is continuing to be able to be manufactured. You're doing those right motions. The supply chain has everything you need, but at some point, and we've seen this, this is going to turn into a sustaining motion. You're going to be forced to probably look at, hey, I need to have a version 2 of my hardware. And again, this really is maybe a function of time. Got a great example where we've done a lighting application. I think we're in our 14th year, and guess what? We just could not get the same parts and components to make that solution in its V1 form, and we had to go through this. So hopefully this gives you some good examples of use cases of what IoT solution management looks like, what some of these value motions are, sustaining motions are, and proactive motions are.